Hey, everyone, Mark and Joey back here on a Saturday morning, and holy shit, it's raining. We're just getting blasted here, as is the Northeast and through the middle part of the U.S. Of course, they've had it way worse than us. But this is not a weather report. This is a new part of our Ultimate Sports channel as we start to move into some other sports with the NBA and the NHL winding down. But first of all, Joey, let's talk for new members. Sorry, this is a little boring for those that are repeat viewers, but you can easily fast forward as well. But we want to tell people where we are showing now in case they have different platforms they prefer to watch the show on. So Roku TV is where we started. If you have Roku, you know how to find us. Just search Ultimate Sports Channel. But Joey, we're in other places now.
Yeah, so we're on 4 platforms right now. We got awesometvchannel.com, ngscsports.com, vimeo.com, and obviously Roku TV. We're going to be adding a 5th, which will be a YouTube channel. So real excited to have all these platforms to share our product with you guys. We hope you enjoy the videos. We also are going to now be selling some videos which are wagering strategies. We talk about wagering a lot throughout our shows. We've talked about strategies a little bit. But what we have done is now got strategies that we've used for a while now that have made us good money. We want to sell to you guys for a one-time fee. You have it for life. You get to use it. Go on, make some huge cash for yourselves, and have some fun watching your teams that you've bet on win. So we're going to sell that on Vimeo.com or on AwesomeTVChannel.com. And we're going to share it to all our sites, so we will be able to see it for sure. But those are the main sites. If you want to purchase that, we got one up right now. We're going to try to get the rest up today. And you can have the greatest strategies for all these sports and make yourself a little extra money on the side.
And we can guarantee you're going to see some stuff there that you don't normally see, mainly because we have always wagered on an online site. We have lots of options of how we can wager. One of those is in game, and it's particularly in horse racing during the race, which we find we can do really well at. Those strategies are there for you to use and learn as well in all of the sports. But one of the ones, if you're interested, one of our favorites is horse racing. Very difficult to talk about on a show perspective because there's so many races going every day across North America. But there's some great wagering strategies. Joey is an expert at hitting long shots with one of our strategies, and you'll want to find that one. Both thoroughbred, mostly some harness racing that we are involved in the sport ourselves. But certainly the thoroughbreds offer tremendous opportunities on the racing side. So you'll want to see and pick that one up as well. As Joey said, we're just launching them all. And they'll all be up for sale. Easiest place to go is awesometvchannel.com because we'll have all the things that are for sale there in one place as opposed to individually in some of the other platforms that we're on. So take a look for those. As well, we're going to be branching out into other sports, racing, more golf now, MLB, of course, and other sports, tennis, that are all going to come now that the craziness of NBA and NHL playoffs, which is certainly where everybody's been focused in the last couple months, but that is all coming to an end, and we'll be moving on to other sports. Team sports like MLB we'll talk about every day. Other sports we'll probably pick up most of the majors or interesting events.
Yeah, we'll do a tennis on the interesting big events, or maybe if we see near the end of a tournament, there's a good top 4, top 6 or something like that, trying to finish it out. With golf, we'll do a Wednesday, Friday, Monday show. Or Wednesday, Saturday, Monday show. Gives you a pre-tournament after the cut and then a recap of what's gone on. So, we're going to touch into those sports and keep the content up. We don't want to go down. So, basketball and hockey are coming near the end. There's obviously going to be some great games left. And you got the NBA Finals, NHL Finals, and still one more series in the Eastern Conference Finals to get to the NBA Finals. So, still lots of basketball, still lots of hockey, but in the meantime, we are going to add on all these shows. IndyCar, NASCAR will be more on the big races. Tennis or a great story, like you said. Tennis will be the same thing, big tennis tournaments or a great story. And then baseball. Right now, I haven't seen much surprise in baseball. Every team's kind of gone back on track, but we'll keep you up to date there. Talk about maybe potential All-Stars. As the All-Star break will come in the middle of the season there. And, touch on baseball as much as we can. We know it's America's sport, so.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a long season, so there are things to talk about. But the unlike other sports where the schedule matters so much, it's later in the year, the schedule. So we'll be looking for special shows on the MLB that we can bring to you. You will see some of them already launched on Roku. We did them early in our process as well. So anyway, today is all about car racing. Coming up this weekend, one of the largest, if not, people will say the greatest sporting event, the greatest sporting event there is in car racing and maybe in all of sports, the Indianapolis 500, coming tomorrow on Sunday. So we want to look at that and give you guys some thoughts we have about the race. I think the first thought is who's not going to be racing, who came over here from F1 with a little bit of feel, a little bit of chip on his shoulder, and did not qualify.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso came over and did not qualify. He did not race well. McLaren really kind of cheap shot the car there. Did not really put a lot of effort into it. It's disappointing that they would even bother to come if they weren't going to give it a real shot. But it is what it is. They, if anything, it's good for IndyCar in a way because they can say, hey, this is no joke over here. I think it's, although a lot of people are saying that's the good part of it, the bad part of it is you kind of want a big name like that probably in the race. A big company like McLaren in the race would have been interesting. But, yeah, they cheap shot the car. They did not get a good car. They did not bring over their own material. They just bought a car and didn't really work very hard on it. He didn't really have much of a chance. And then he was offered a spot in the race of already a team that had a spot for him. He turned that down. So Fernando Alonso will not be racing the Indy 500. They've tried this before. Sometimes they've worked out. This time they did not work out. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, you move on. But it's one of the biggest fails people are talking about in Indy qualifying history. And it's obviously going to be very disappointing for McLaren and for Alonso to risk your time, really, and come over here and just give out such a poor performance. But then the day the race will go on, I don't think too many people will be that upset that they're missing him. He's not a regular. I think regulars should be in it, and someone like him shouldn't even be allowed to get in it anyway. So I'm not that upset he's not in it.
Yeah, we talk about in some other sports where people parachute into an event, and it really is hurtful to the overall business. Even in the Indianapolis 500 here, there's been talk this year about the fact that some of the regular top drivers may not qualify. It's happened before. Personally, to a Canadian, Hinchcliffe, that happened to us, where he was one of the top, well, he is still one of them, but in the season was one of the top drivers and did not qualify. There's a lot of talk about giving spots to these top, cars and these top drivers, and not being in a position where they have to qualify to be in, that they get in because of who they are. A lot of that talk, I think it was Penske, right, that talked about it this year?
Well, it wasn't this year. He lost out a while back.
No, but the conversation was this year about changes needed.
Well, it's every year. It's not just this year. It's every year that they talk about it. Obviously, it's something that they're going to question forever, and anytime someone who doesn't make it, that they feel like should make it, it's going to bring the conversation back to the headlines. And last year was Hinchcliffe. This year might be Alonso. But in my mind, it's the only sport that really makes all these top guys qualify for such a big race. You don't see in any other sport where all of a sudden you got to re-qualify. Makes zero sense to me. And really, I don't feel like that it's fair. You put in all this hard work in the regular season, and then only to basically get crap out in qualifying due to weather, due to maybe the way your car runs that day, and maybe just a mistake from your pit team. All of a sudden, the greatest driver maybe this year in the standings doesn't get in. It actually hasn't happened as much as I thought when I looked at it as far as like the big names not getting in. But when it has, I think it's proven crucial to the race. And more importantly, it always takes over the headlines. I just don't understand it. It would be like making every MLB player re-qualify each year to play in the All-Star game or something. Like it's kind of weird that you got to re-qualify for the biggest game. Golf, it'd be like if every guy had to qualify for the Masters, U.S. Open, British Open, and the world number one might not get in it because of these stupid qualifications. I don't understand it. But a lot of guys say they don't want to change, that it's the history of the race, and that's the whole point of it, is that it's wide open and that they should just be good enough to get in. So, actually, it's surprising you don't get as much backlash from the people doing it as you do from the fans. So it's
I think it gets down to, again, history for these drivers, but you know what? All sports are about the fans. It's really good when sports actually think about the fans because we're the ones that pay all the bills. So, you shouldn't have a top driver missing. That's just a fact. As you mentioned, no sport does it. You don't see tennis. Matter of fact, the top guys are seated at the top. They get the best advantage, not a disadvantage. Golf, if you're in the top, 125 golf, you get into every single tournament. These are things that should happen all the time. It's against the fans' best interest to have good drivers not in the Indy 500. So it'll be a back and forth forever. Typically, when tradition happens, it's very difficult to change tradition. It'll be hard to push through the drivers and everything. But when Penske spoke up about it, I think it brings a lot more weight to the issue that this has got to be changed. So anyway, it's not changed for this year. We'll see what happens in years coming up. I also want to do a shout out to Hinchcliffe again. A major accident. My God, that was scary. And yet these guys can come out of that and jump back in a car and still qualify. Like, it's amazing.
Well, when you come down to it, like he said, what else am I supposed to do? That's your job. It's your living. It's obviously kind of what you live for and what you want. So it was a bad crash. I think crashes, it looked a little worse because half his wing kind of did go off.
Yeah.
But he was okay. He got in the back car and still qualified, so he's in the race this year. So it was great to see. As Canadians, our other Canadian did get really hurt last year and is actually out for a while. They say he's going to try to make a return. I don't know if he ever will. His name is Andrew Wickens, maybe, I think. I don't know if that's his last name is Wickens. He had a big spinal injury last year, so it's definitely a dangerous sport compared to NASCAR these days where they're so bolted in. These F1 and Indy cars, it doesn't happen as often as it used to, but when it does, those cars just go flying. They're so light.
Almost
and yeah, it was very scary to see that, but he got right back in the car and still qualified for the Indy 500. So he's in the race, which is great to see.
Simply amazing, though, to me. I know it's, to them it's blasé. Oh, yeah, what else am I supposed to do? I still can't imagine they jump back in a car that right after an accident. So kudos to him for getting in. That's going to be exciting for us to follow as Canadians to see what happens. But we actually haven't picked them to win, but we have some other thoughts on who might win the race based on, obviously, how they qualified this year, how they're racing this year, and a couple long shots that we see. One that we really want to win because of the heritage of their family in the sport. We want to see Marco Andretti get a victory. He's qualified okay for the Indianapolis 500 this year to have a shot.
Yeah, and he's been second before.
Been there, yeah.
So obviously you hope Andretti can get it done. The Andretti team has been very successful. In fact, they won it last year with Will Power. But I'm sure the whole family would like to see Marco get it done this year. And I think all racing fans would. I think at the end of the day, no matter how much he wins or where he is in the standings, that name will always be known and always be heard around the Indianapolis 500 in every race, quite frankly. And you never know how long, obviously, he's got left. But he's still young. I mean, he still can easily get it done. I think he's only like 26 years old. So already a second place. He's not the most consistent guy throughout the season. Doesn't win a ton, but I feel like could get this Indy 500 done. Obviously, it runs in the family. It would be great for the family, and I think it would be the biggest headline at the end of the day. Marco Andretti winning this race would be the biggest headline they could write in the.
Well, you're not going to have many 3 generations in any sport that can have been that successful. So be fantastic.
Well, his dad owns the team, or his grandpa owns the team. So
yeah,
it would be a full family affair.
And amazing. This year they did the feature on Mario Andretti. If you haven't seen it, make sure you get to YouTube or somewhere wherever you can watch it. A great feature on Mario. I happen to be old enough to remember Mario when he was at the stage Marco's at. So I followed the Andretti family all the way, and I think it would be fantastic. So one of our long shots, Marco Andretti this year.
Absolutely.
And we have another long shot we think has got a real chance.
Well, it's hard to call a guy who's won this race 3 times a long shot, but Helio Castroneves is kind of under the radar.
What is he now, 40?
44 going into this race. He's kind of under the radar. But he obviously has 3 of these. He has 3 of these bad boys. He's won this 3 times. 2 of them very early in his career. One I think was like 2014, so kind of semi recently. I guess we only do this once a year. He can always get it done. He's in the 8th row on the outside, 8th side of the 8th row, and he's got a solid chance to really get it done. And obviously, when you've won it 3 times, you love this style of track, the oval, and you love this race. And honestly, if you're looking for a play outside the guys near the top of the pole, he's a guy to do that. And at his age, at that row, going for his 4th in a row, which would be history. He'd be one of the few to have 4 of these Indianapolis 500s. He's a good play. He's a good play if you're looking to make a bet or just cheer someone on. Another great story if you're looking for a good headline the next day would be Helio Castroneves at 44 years old getting that 4th Indy 500. Not many people have done it. it'd be obviously very great if he could get it done.
Well, and actually, speaking of having done an interesting story, Joey and I were driving cross country from California back to the East Coast this winter, and we drove through Unser's hometown, which was kind of fascinating because Unsers have a multitude of Indy 500s between Al Unser and his dad, and so it was fantastic to drive through there. We didn't see much; it was kind of on the way. When you're on the way driving across country, there's not a lot of time for sightseeing, but it was cool to go through there.
Actually, we went
realize
to the
where they came from.
place too, right?
We went to the Andretti in Orlando.
Go-kart.
The go-kart thing is fantastic. If you're ever in Orlando, go. This is the best go-kart track I've ever seen. It was unreal. So yeah, we were at the Andretti family go-kart. It's actually on the back of Top Golf in Orlando. If you want a day to go and do some really cool things, Top Golf in Orlando, right behind it is Andretti, and there's one other thing there. It's not coming to my mind now, but another great activity. So yeah, if you're in Orlando or can go there, go visit Top Golf and the Andretti go-kart racetrack. It was awesome.
Very cool. So now we got kind of favorites, guys we think will win. You got Simon Pagenaud on the pole. Obviously, very capable driver of getting this done.
However, interesting fact that you looked up this morning, only 20% of guys in the poll actually won the race.
I'd like to see the other positions, and it's still the highest position of winner. So,
but it's not like you're sitting on a 75% chance like you would be in other sports that once you get positioning.
If I'm Simon Pagenaud, I already have a chance because I'm a great driver. You give me 20% extra because I'm on the pole over everyone else. That's a good advantage for me.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, the race will have to go through him, so that'd be very interesting. You had Scott Dixon, who's up there in age at 38 years old, but he's a 5-time series champion, including last year, apparently. So
and having a great year this year.
Having a great year this year. He's in second. He has 4 top 5s. He is 18th in the race lineup, and obviously got a great chance. A lot of guys are actually in the race saying he's the guy that beat. So obviously at 4 top 5s, your car is running nice. Can you get one across the finish line first? He has not done that yet this year. At 38 years old, might be his time for his second one. It's been 11 years since his first one. Obviously, he's got to be thinking how much does he got left. So this is probably, if he won, it might be one of those ones where it's his final year. But I think, obviously, he's a play at 18th, and obviously it would be another story if he got it done. From New Zealand, he's been one of the great drivers for a long time.
He's been one of the great drivers, and it kind of comes back to a Peyton Manning kind of thing, that, a ton of guys have got one, and same with Peyton Manning with the Super Bowl, so it'd be great for Dixon to get 2. It kind of separates you from guys who just had a great day and won one.
Yeah.
And he's obviously been a great driver, but to finish off a career here would be fantastic to see him get that second one and really round out that career. Because as you say, you never know once you get into late 30s and early 40s how often you're going to drive.
If he won this and won another title or was close, he might just call it a year. So I think winning this would be another huge one.
Yeah.
Clearly his car is good enough this year, and he's had a good season last year, so he probably feels like this is a good chance for him to get it.
So we're looking for that one.
Joseph Newgarden obviously is number 1 in the standings right now.
Can't argue.
You hear his name every single week. He's in 8th right now as far as the lineup goes. Takuto Sato. I don't know. Sato's his last name. That's what we're going to call him. Letterman's team, I actually remember watching the race he won, and Letterman was there. This year, it's the only race I ever won, so maybe it was telling me he's going to win the Indy 500. Won it in 2017 when no one really knew much about him. This year, like I said, already has a win. Also has another top 5. Is in 5th in the standings. Has a good position in the race. So Takamoto Sato, I still don't think I got that right.
The last name, it's easier.
Okay, so Sato, he's obviously a good player.
And David Letterman, as we all know, almost everything this guy touched turns to gold. Certainly his long career on TV. Since he's retired, he's been very successful in the car world. So it wouldn't be shocking to see his team win.
Right, and then
he's got a great partner.
The guy 4th in the standings of the series so far. Basically, the series is their season for other sports. We normally talk about regular season, postseason. Well, this is when I say the series, I'm talking about the regular season. Tony Kanaan obviously has won in 2013 too. Hear that name? Been around a long time. Also had the fastest lap out of anybody in the qualifying. Does that tell you his car is running good? He's feeling the track. Definitely a good sign there. another quick point. So you got those guys. You got Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, and Tony Kanaan. Sato, you got Marco Andretti, Julio Castroneves as our long shots there. I think another thing to mention is the weather. They will not get a lot of practice today, if any at all, because of the weather. Tomorrow will be thunderstorms and pouring rain up till the race time. What will that do to the track, to the drivers? Will it even go?
Yeah.
That's a question you have to ask yourself. Unfortunately, this is a very high possibility. It'd be very disappointing to us and all the fans out there. But if they're getting what we got right now, I don't see how they'd be able to go, or it'd be definitely delayed. Definitely is something to keep in mind when watching tomorrow, when picking your drivers. Could definitely play a big part. What does that do? Well, Julio Castroneves won this 3 times. I think that gives someone like that a huge advantage, who's done this before, probably has raced in bad weather at the Indy 500 specifically before. So might give veterans an edge in who will win. Last thing, I just thought of it. We had not mentioned the winner of last year, Will Power.
Yeah.
Don't know why he hasn't.
I haven't really heard Will's name a lot this year.
No, he hasn't had a great season. I don't think. I haven't really heard his name a whole lot. He's not really being talked about either going into this race, which is shocking. But I've heard the name throughout the years, and he won last year. So he raced for the Andretti team. So could they get another victory with him? Obviously, a strong possibility. No one ever has gone back-to-back Indy 500. So what does that tell you? It's very difficult and unlikely. So we'll see.
When you're wagering, you get great odds on him, but the odds of him actually winning are very low. So we don't see Will being there, but obviously we always would love to see history. So we could see back-to-back. It'd be fun to do when we're watching the race. So anyway, that's it today. Keep your eye on the weather. I think it changes thoughts about who could win dramatically if it's wet and they're racing. Veterans have got to take the front stage when that happens. They've done it before. A lot of the younger guys may never have faced that in a race like the Indianapolis 500. So it certainly changes the dynamics dramatically, and they could also cancel it. Certainly, if they had the rain we're having right now, I doubt they'd even go on the racetrack. So
it'd be very, very risky.
We'll see what happens
but it's not lightning, so they're going to do everything they can to get that baby going.
It's millions and millions and millions of dollars. So you wouldn't want them running the race not on a day like tomorrow when everything's set up. So anyway, that's the end of our show. I hope you enjoy the race tomorrow. We'll come and do a recap on Monday. And it should be fantastic. We're looking forward to it. And we'll look forward to talking again on Monday.